Welcome to the very first episode of the Amherst Writers and Artists Podcast. I'm your host, Ginger T. Rex. The AWA method inspired by Pat Schneider and her book, Writing Alone with Others. It's all about empowering every writer's voice. At AWA, it's about the writing. Our core belief is simple. Every person is a writer, and every writer deserves a safe environment in which to experiment, learn, and develop their craft. That's why all our Write Around the World sessions and every AWA workshop are facilitated using the AWA method. Whether you're just starting out or you've been writing for years, you'll find a welcoming space to grow. We created this podcast to introduce you to the AWA approach and to spotlight the real experiences of writers in our workshops. Whether you're new to writing or looking to deepen your practice, you'll find tips, inspiration, and a supportive community here. So I'm excited to welcome our guest. This is Maureen Buchanan Jones. Can I start with an introduction?
Yes, please. That'd be great.
Okay, great. She's a true believer in the wonder and play at the heart of creativity. Maureen has decades of experience guiding writers of every background. She draws on inspiration's mysteries, blending memory, imagination, and the joy of unexpected discoveries. As AWA's training director and former executive director, Maureen brings the celebrated Amherst Writers and Artists method to workshops that welcome everyone, from seasoned authors to uncertain beginners, into an encouraging and safe space. Her writing life spans poetry published in journals such as 13th Moon and North Dakota Quarterly Review, fiction on NPR and in Orion, and two acclaimed books, the novel Maud and Addie and the poetry collection Blessed Are the Menial Chores. Okay, today we're going to explore with Maureen how play, trust, and wonder shape both her creative practice and her passion for nurturing other writers. So I'm going to tell everyone this is our first podcast. You and I are getting started, so we're going to shake off the cobwebs and just get comfortable and see where this leads us. Before I jump into some questions, is there anything that I missed that you'd like to add or start off with?
I can't imagine what could be added. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. That was great. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for joining. I asked you, you're actually the first guest for this podcast because I had such a wonderful experience with you as my trainer in the AWA method. I just really felt drawn to see if, we could start this off together. So I'm really grateful you said yes.
Oh, well, I'm grateful I'm be invited, and I'm excited to have the conversation and see where it goes, and um, yeah, share both of our experiences with AWA.
Great. Well, I've introduced from the open a bit about the Amherst Writers and Artists method, so hopefully our listeners had a chance to understand the basics of what we're about, and then I'll just get to a few questions so you can add to that knowledge and give people a better understanding. So the first question is, how did you first get involved with AWA?
I think, like most people, I did some writing. I was an academic for a while, and before that, I waited tables for a long time. So I've had a checkered past, shall we say, varied background. But even though I had been in a classroom for a long time, the idea of writing in a writing workshop terrified me. But I wanted to. I had stories to tell, I had poems to write, and I had heard about AWA. I live in Amherst. So I'd heard about it, but didn't know a great deal about it. So in fact, I lived right around the corner from Pat for a while and didn't know that I was living around the corner from Pat. But at a certain point, I needed more than what my career was giving me. So I called, and there just happened to be an opening in the Thursday evening writing workshop. And that was the beginning of 10 years of writing with Pat Schneider every week. And just like most everybody else that I've heard explain, whether it was with Pat or anybody else, the first moments of walking or arriving into a group of other writers The heart just takes off. I mean, it just starts pounding, and it's both excitement and it's terrifying because we don't know what to expect. We're going to be maybe asked to be vulnerable, and how is that going to work? And trust is very much at the heart of it. And I will say that listening to other writers in that first moment and beginning to write myself, even though I was so terrified, it was like a portal into paradise because the recognition, and it becomes apparent very quickly that this is a place where every writer can go in whatever direction and however deep they want to and access whatever they want to inside themselves for to express themselves. And so it was inspiring um, and intimidating. And it took a while to gain confidence. But the method is there to, and that's a lot of what the method is built on, is building people's confidence so that they trust their own voice.
When you said that, it reminded me of my first workshop experience, and maybe you shared a little bit about that, but do you remember going back what that first workshop experience was like for you? Just walk us through like arriving
Ah,
prompts, what it was like for you in that seat.
yeah. Well, you enter you with Pat entering into her living room, and I knew that these people had been writing together for a while, and but they were very welcoming, very open, and um, so I chose a seat, sat down. I had my little notebook and my pen. I really had no idea exactly what was going to happen. I don't remember what prompt Pat offered that first night I was there. I don't know that this was the first evening that I was there, but it was very early on. I wrote a piece and I was shaking when I read it because it was, I put it in third person, but it was drawing heavily on memory. And um, so I read it thinking that I was, oh, it's that feeling like you're a fake, like you're cheating, you're skating by somehow, you're not doing it right. And, and I had listened to all this wonderful writing and done my best to notice, what I thought was strong and working in other people's writing. So I read this piece and thought, oh God, what have I done? And people responded to the craft really beautifully. And then a woman said this, and it was a 17-year-old girl, and she was in trouble. She was in big trouble. And a woman in the workshop said, I'm really afraid for this girl. And she said, but I believe in her. Um, Everything that I've heard in this piece of writing tells me she's going to figure things out. And it did two things for me. One was it told me that what I was trying to express had been heard. And being heard is such a fundamental human need. And that also is just built into the method because we listen very carefully to each other. And the separation of writer and writing is always there. So they were not crossing any boundaries of assuming this was me. But we all do our own art and we use our art to work out things that have gone or are going on for us. And it was the first time in my life I could see that 17-year-old with real compassion, kindness, and I also began to believe in her. So it was remarkable to me on how many levels this way of being in a group of artists, writing artists, um, how the support comes in, how the confidence gets built. Um, and it's multifaceted, and it happens differently each time, a little bit leaning towards, oh, I don't know, just, I guess it always vacillates memory and imagination. But even there, it's, our imaginations are part of our dreaming state. And we all know what happens in dreams, right? A lot of stuff gets worked out or revealed. So Yeah, I had a very profound experience very early on that um, hit deep and certainly hooked me. I haven't looked back since.
Thank you for sharing that. It actually, is something that I can't articulate well, and I'm hoping you can. But the method does something, for lack of a better word, that is magical. It seems
Yeah.
that for me, and other writers have said this, my writing is actually better
Hmm.
in every way. It's more grounded, it's truer, it's more creative, it's just better in every way in these workshops than when I go sit at my computer and and
Hmm.
and, and I don't know why. Do you have any understanding of the magic that takes place in these workshops that can't be recreated when you actually write alone?
I don't know if I can identify it perfectly or completely. People use the word magic a lot. I think being witness to each other, the agreement, the commitment that we are going to show up for this amount of time on this day, and we're going to do this together. We're each going to write individually, but we're writing right in the moment. Whatever shows up, whatever comes, we're going to follow it. And when we read, we're going to openly listen without bias or assumption or judgment to each other. And we're going to listen for, the craft, um, how the story is told, how the poem is effective. And we listen for the emotional content also. And I think it's that solidarity. It's kind of like we link arms and go in together, right? And we hold each other up. But we do it with such um, um, gentleness and such care, and but also with honesty, right? We're responding very honestly about what we've heard. We're not just patting each other on the head. And I do think part of it is the critics. We do the work together of holding the critics off. I often say in the workshops that I lead, whether they're in person or online, it's like, your critics are always going to be around, those voices in our heads. Give them, however much money and tell them to go to the cafe down the corner or downtown. And you don't even have to go pick them up and give them a ride back. They'll find their way home. They will always be there. But because we're all doing the same thing and we all know um, the fears that we have, the uncertainties, um, yeah, they're just kind of there in the room and I don't know, tended to or um, yeah, they they're they're not made fun of, I think. It's not like, oh, real writers aren't afraid. It's like every artist is nervous that when they begin. And it doesn't matter what they're beginning, or even in the middle of things, or even if trying to end something. There's always, whether it's the content, whether it's the form. So I think it's just safer to go into that cave um, with other people who have flashlights too. Not just ourselves. Yeah.
Well
So.
said. That's beautiful. And one of the important things that I think is a piece of that puzzle is we share our work, or you don't have to,
Mhm.
but if you feel led, you can, as you were describing, share something that you've written. And I was going to see if you, as a first step in our podcast. If you have a piece, feel free to share it if you would like to give people an idea of some of the things we write, if you're comfortable. If not, just like in the workshops, don't feel obligated to do so.
I would love to. I
Okay,
would love.
wonderful.
Yeah, thank you for wow, thank you for the invitation. Um, sure. I have a poem I can read. All right. What we catch falling. We go out to look at the moon, but it must be setting in the west beyond our view. Jupiter is bright, or maybe it's something else caught on a branch, now almost bare. It's that kind of night, with the light drawing away and the air still warm. A night where you say, huh, I guess we missed it. But as I listen to the quieting insects and look up at the sky, I hear that voice and I think, this isn't a moment to miss. I know there's work to do, and I can't linger. It's okay. I know better than to head towards remembering. I say, watch your step in the shadows. I'm caught here in this in-between time, in the yard with the sky brushed and tessellated by oaks and pines, and the next moment when your voice will have gone. This is the back and forth of everything, isn't it? What we have, what we release, what we need, what we abide. I turn to go in and think how we have become friends, and now it's almost time to go alone. It's okay that the moon isn't always where we left it, and that I don't know if that's Jupiter or a star. Everything fades if we hold it too close.
Lovely. Thank you for sharing that. It's okay if the moon isn't where we left it. Wow. And in true workshop form, the author put me in that place. And I felt that I got to witness all of that. So thank you for sharing that incredible poem.
Very-
Um, foolishly, we agreed to keep it short, and it's a hard thing to do. But I don't want to. I don't want to leave without asking you because you've been involved with AWA for a very long time, and I wondered what keeps you coming back to
25 years. Sorry.
what what's that?
Almost, I think 20, my math is correct, like 23 years.
Right on. Wow.
Mhm.
What keeps you coming back to AWA workshops?
I think it's the magic everybody, the word that everybody mentions, but I think it's the belief that art is created in an atmosphere of experimentation and play, that there are no assignments. It's a very free range activity. We may be given suggestions, the prompts, but we don't have to use them in any particular way. So whatever it is that's inside of us, we can put it out there, and if it turns out to be kind of a mess, that's all right. There's always something to notice. There's always something that's working in that. If we feel like, often writers feel like they haven't done it as well as they wanted to, but we listeners always hear um, what was successful in a piece of writing, and I think that's why you talked about writing better and developing your craft and feeling more creative. It's that ability to just let loose and go, and then we focus on what is successful in a piece, so we then believe in our writing. The workshop is based on trust among all the members, but it also is so much about trusting our own voice, and the uniqueness, the individuality of our voice, and the way we want to say it is just as important as what we want to say.
Well said.
Did I answer the
Um,
question okay?
yeah, beautifully, beautifully. I want, wow. I think we're gonna probably have to meet again. I think we'll have to do another podcast together and cover
I'd
some of
love
the things that popped into my brain that I would love to. I could listen to you all day, Maureen. Um,
to say that.
but I wanted to make sure and give you some time if there's something that we missed or that you feel would be important or that came to you during our talk that we have a little time if you want to
I think,
include something else.
sure. I want to, just because we're talking about that word magic and people use it a lot. Um, and as a workshop leader, a longtime workshop leader, and also the training director, so I lead trainings to talk about the method over and over and over again. And that's a real privilege that I have. And I've come to realize that where the magic is in holding to the method, which sounds really simple, but takes consistency. It takes practice as a workshop leader, and so the magic is built into the method. It's very practical steps, beginning with holding people's work in confidentiality. It is in not assuming that anything that's written is actually about the writer. So there's a privacy, there's a boundary that's created that protects both the writer and the listener. The way that we listen is unique to AWA workshops, that openness, that not bringing ourselves into someone else's writing. And if we hold up all those practices and then, how we attend to each other's writing, listening for, the five senses, the vivid imagery, concrete imagery, or dialogue, all the things that go into any piece of writing. We are just constantly reinforcing um, each other's creativity and each other's um, individuality in our voices. And so that feels like magic to feel heard in that way, because it doesn't happen in a lot of our daily lives, to have that moment. And it is very, I always say, I don't say it all the time, but at the end of any workshop, and I feel this deeply, the world dismantles us in so many ways, constantly, little, large, all of it. There's something about the workshop experience that I feel put back together at the end of it. And my hope is that other people in the workshops that I lead feel the same, that they get that experience of um, sort of being shored up again. So it is about community too. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So
With all
that's,
those principles, you get the freedom, and
yes,
upholding the principles is what creates the freedom to authentically create. And I could not agree more. You taught me
that's,
that.
we all stand on lots of shoulders. Yeah. So in terms of all the people that have come before us who have um, both created this method and then even before that going back in time and the whole writing process movement and what it is that can help access that incredible, and there's the mystery, the real mystery is the creative process. Where on earth do these ideas and images come from? Metaphors. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of a miracle.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. With I am incredibly grateful that we got this chance to talk, and that you would share all of that, and be my very first guest on our podcast. Um, so I look forward to having you back. Or would you come back?
Absolutely. This has just been such an honor and so much fun, Ginger. And
Uh,
you were fantastic
uh,
interviewer. Yeah, great conversation.
the feeling is mutual. So we'll do it again. And so thank you for sharing and answering the questions. And thank you, listeners, for joining us today. And we will see you next time. Thanks. For a full calendar of upcoming events, workshops, and including our Ride Around the World sessions, visit the AWA website at amherstwriters.org. Don't forget to tune in to our next episode for more stories, inspiration, and writing wisdom. Thank you.